Hello dear students, the topic fundamental rights we were doing, and in that we have already studied almost all the rights, but I think one important right that we haven't yet studied, that is right against exploitation. It is very clear from this right itself that it says that exploitation in any form is not right in the eyes of law. Okay, so for this we have the provision of certain the constitution has provided certain laws in order to protect the right of individuals against exploitation. Now when we talk about right against exploitation, there are two very important articles that we need to study, and that is article 23 and article 24. Okay, that is there in the Indian Constitution. These are important rights that guarantee every citizen protection from any kind of forced labor. Okay. Now, just a glimpse of the historical background or a little bit background of right against exploitation and a bit introduction on this. So, it took several centuries to get India free from slavery, and finally, after the enactment of the Indian Penal Code 1860, slavery was completely abolished in India. The framers of the Indian Constitution through Article 23 and 24 expunged such practices. The Constitution of India guarantees liberty and dignity to every individual, hence leaving no scope for exploitation, slavery, and ill treatment. Exploitation means the misuse of services rendered by others with the help of force. Practice of exploitation violates the basic concept of the Indian Constitution, the preamble, and opposes the directive principles of state policy given under Article 39 of the Indian Constitution, which stimulates economic equality among the individuals. So, now we can move ahead with the explanation of the two articles that is there in right against exploitation. So that is Article 23 and Article 24. So Article 3 of the Indian Constitution reads as follows. Article 23, Clause 1 states, traffic in human beings and beggar and similar other forms of forced labor are prohibited, and any contravention of this provision shall be an offense punishable in accordance with law. So ever since the dawn of civilization in every society, the stronger exploited the weak. Slavery was the most prevalent and perhaps the cruelest form of human exploitation. So our constitution does not explicitly forbid slavery. Any form of exploitation is forbidden. Thus, forcing the landless labor to render free service by the landowner is unconstitutional. Equally, forcing helpless women into prostitution is a crime. The intention of the Constitution is that whatever a person does must be voluntary. There must not be any element of coercion involved behind a man's action, and hence the scope of Article 23 is far wide. But an exception is made in employment without payment for compulsory services for public purposes. Compulsory military conscription is covered by this provision. Okay, so that is the exception. Now, I'll just point out few laws passed by Parliament in pursuance of Article 23, that is Suppression of Immoral Traffic in Women and Girls Act 1956 and Bonded Labor System Abolition Act 1976. Now we can move ahead with Article 24. So, Article 24 forbids employment of child labor in factories or in hazardous works. The article reads, no child below the age of 14 years shall be employed to work in any factory or mine or engaged in any other hazardous employment. In an environment of all pervading poverty, children are often forced to seek employment to earn a living. Employers often find it less costly to engage child labor at a cheap price. But children so employed do not get opportunities for development. Thus, employment of child labor is a form of trafficking in human beings. Hence, it is justifiably forbidden. Okay, but employment of child labor cannot be effectively checked unless there is overall improvement of economic condition of the poorer sections of the society. So this provision of the constitution remains a pious viz even today. Okay. So this is the explanation of the two articles that explains right against exploitation. Now, moving ahead, I would just like to state a few laws that are passed in pursuance to Article 24 in India. Article 23, I've already stated it, two laws. So this is Article 24 in accordance to Article 24. So we have the Factories Act 1948, Mines Act 1952, Child Labor Prohibition Regulation Act 1986, Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Amendment Act that was done to 1986 Act in 2016. Then we have Child Labor Prohibition Regulation Amendment Rules 2017. Okay. Now, once we do this, then I just like to cite a few landmark judgments that is related with Article 23 and Article 24. So, there has been a case in the People's Union of for Democratic Rights versus Union of India. Mm, the Supreme Court interpreted the ambit of Article 23. Uh, in Sanjit Roy versus State of Rajasthan, the state employed people for certain work under the Famine Relief Act. The payment of wages lower than the minimum wage to a person employed in famine relief work is violative under Article 23. So it was stated like that. Okay. Then in Dina versus Union of India, it was held by Chandrachud, Chief Justice Chandrachud, that the labours taken from the prisoners without paying remuneration was forced labour and violative of Article 23 of the Constitution. So therefore, they should also be paid a certain remuneration, right? In the case of MC Mehta versus State of Tamil Nadu, a public lawyer MC Mehta filed a PIL under Article 32 and informed the court about how the children are engaged in Sivakashi cracker factories. Okay, so these are certain landmark judgments that I'll suggest you all please go through the details of the judgment so that it will make the concept of right against exploitation more clear. And finally, on the basis of the entire discussion, we can come to the conclusion that since the genesis of civilization, the stronger has dominated, exploited the weaker. That is what we call exploitation. Exploitation of weaker section by the stronger section. So, in such a scenario, it is the need of the hour to protect the weaker from such exploitation, provide them with equal opportunities in every field to empower themselves. So, right to against exploitation in one is one such initiative, right? Moreover, child labor is a crime which is prevailing in the society as a malediction. It is an obstacle hindering the development and growth of the country. Healthy children lead to the bright future of a country. Child labor is blemishing, vandalizing, and devastating the future of children and eventually proves to be a curb in the progress of the country. Hence, proper implementation of law is an absolute necessity, and therefore the laws that have been enacted in accordance to Article 23 and Article 24 needs to be very seriously implemented and executed so that we can get rid of this problem from our country and we can provide that proper opportunity and scope for the poorer section, weaker section of our society to develop in equal parallels with the other sections of the society, so that there is a proper equal growth of all sections in the society, which will ultimately lead to the growth of the country. So with this, I would like to conclude. Thank you so much.